Today, more than 1.5 million soldiers are involved in the liberation of Ukraine from the Russian invaders. A minority of them comprise professional military personnel, while the majority consists of individuals who were farmers, entrepreneurs, and managers until yesterday. Let's have faith that the majority of them will return to their farms, businesses, and offices. What kind of leadership skills and experiences will they bring back with them as managers? How will veteran managers lead, and what changes will they bring about? How can companies effectively hire them? The page offers the opportunity to delve into this topic with Viesturs Liegis, an expert in executive search, and Volodymyr Dehtiarov, a veteran and a junior sergeant of the Territorial Defense Forces, who is also a co-founder of the Newsfront agency. Is there anything in common between military and business management?
Definitely, there is a lot of common, and it is in processes, it is in the skills which are required, but definitely there are certain differences too. And if we want to delve in the differences, like what I would like to say is that. But let me start with the question to Volodya. Looking from the side, looking from the perspective of the person who is deep in a business but of course who very closely follows. What's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in this full-scale invasion, and how acts Ukrainian army. And my impression is that the Russian army is very much the old-style army, which is the very hierarchical, very vertical structure. All the decisions are made somewhere very up in upper level, and the people on the ground, they don't know anything. They don't do any decisions. But when it comes to the Ukrainian army, then the feeling is that the objectives are clear, but the way how do you reach the objectives is in very big extent in the hands of the commander who is on the ground. Do I have a right impression?
I could say that in most cases, indeed, we are adopting or at least moving towards this philosophy, which is called in the US Army or NATO Army Mission Command, which is basically centralized command but decentralized execution. So they've got this specific term, Mission Command, which means that you are supposed to know the intent of your higher commanding officers, but you are free in choosing ways and means to execute it, because indeed you are closer to the ground. We're still not fully there, because we've still got a lot of remnants of the old post-Soviet doctrines, but we have been moving in that direction for the last 10 years. And so indeed this mission command philosophy, where you are able to make decisions on the ground, to a certain level, as long as you know which is the intent of your commander and his commander. Mm-hmm. So in a perfect world, you are supposed to know the intent of your commanders two levels up. And that gives you a certain flexibility. So you might not have the full battle picture, but you at least know what your unit is doing and what a larger unit is trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's and exactly this is the fact which is very much in line, when it comes to the modern business management. Style as well, because the organizations are becoming very, very flat. The leadership style is not directive, and and the people are free to choose the ways how to fulfill their tasks. And when kind of like, for example, when now we are talking about the style of like work style of like millennials and so on. And like why I ask this question is like comparing the style in army and the style in a business and the ways of management in army and ways of management in business. There are like lots of parallels.
Well, if we go back to some of the similarities and differences, I think that when we're talking about military leaders, we need to separate two areas that business can borrow from. Leadership as such, as working with people, as leading people, as building cohesive teams, and planning. Specifically battle planning. And so the army has a lot, at least the US Army, the British Army, the NATO armies have gone very far in terms of specific battle planning. The problem with any military combat planning is that you face a lot of uncertainties. You face a hostile enemy. You are always lacking resources. You're always lacking information, and you still need to make decisions. And so the army has come up with a very specific way of planning operations, which is called troop leading procedures and military decision-making process, or combat estimate, which is 7 or 8 steps where you analyze and follow some very specific rules, where you look at the terrain and not just look at it, but analyze it through a specific framework. So there are very specific frameworks, tables, approaches, parameters by which you need to analyze your own forces, enemy forces, adversaries, human terrain, actual terrain, weather, your weapons capabilities, etc., before you proceed to make any decisions. So there is very little, in fact, place for intuition or intuitive management, and lots of planning. And that was something really very interesting for me, because still in business, often decisions are made based on intuition or your hints or your previous experience. However, in the army, obviously there are some talented leaders that can do that, but in most cases there are very specific processes, and that's definitely something that can be taken into the business. And the other thing is leadership as a way of motivating people and knowing your team. Because in the army, unlike in business, you don't have that many ways of motivating people. You are limited in terms of promoting, you are limited in terms of financial compensation. You don't often choose your team, unlike in business. You work with whoever you are assigned. You don't choose your mission. You work with whatever mission you are assigned. The cost of wrong decisions is very high, so it could be human lives and mission failure. And so that means that you need to build this very close trust with your team. And when you are stripped of all those financial, etc., material motivation means, all that you have is basically yourself. And so the ability to create those links between within the team and become this like a father figure for your team. So that's very interesting, because in business you often don't need to build this very deep emotional connection.
Well, probably when it comes to the emotional connection, of course, that's questionable as well. Yeah, but But I would see certain parallels here too, yeah, and especially when we are talking about the supervisory boards, the non-executive boards, and this is quite a new concept for us, for post-Soviet people, and because like we are used to this like concept of like power vertical, believing that there always will be like one super smart who will make all the decisions for us, but now we are like implementing this checks and balances concept, yeah, so that assuming that unfortunately there is no one Superman up there, and so that we have to work in the realistic situation, and always then it's good that there is somebody who could question yourself, who could question your decision, and probably through that go to the best solution. And when it comes to boards, like you are in quite from that perspective, you are a quite similar situation, yeah, because you don't choose your fellow board members, yeah. You have to work with what you have. Even more, the chairman is not the manager of the board. Chairman is just like first from the equal, and the only like extra power of the chairman is to have like bigger impact on the agenda, and you have kind of like to find this some kind of like contact with the board members to kind of like to discuss and to get to the solution, to the decision, which always should be some kind of like consensus, not always the one you wanted, but probably which is reached through the discussion. And I have read some researchers which said that like this fact you are talking about, the kind of like this like emotional need for the emotional like contact, and this like emotional like advanced emotional intelligence is one of the like very important competences the veterans who are returning from the battlefield, they have acquired this. So this definitely is in kind of like quite important thing, and the power which can be used in a civil life, in a business.
What skills from the military can help in business management?
So some of the skills, and I think that we can talk about a wider notion, not only on the battlefield, but in the army overall, because not everybody who is serving in the army goes directly into battle. Yeah, there are lots of support functions in every unit, division, wherever you have a staff, you have all the same functions or features that you have in a business company. You have logistics, you have all the support services, you have personnel, you have finances, you have communication. So, and there are people required to do all that stuff and manipulate a complex army logistics system. So some of the things that definitely can be brought back is quick decision making, and going into action without long thoughts or discussions, because in army you have to obey an order. If you are lucky and you have a good commander, then he gives some background. If not, you are just given the order, and you have to hope that the commander is right, and you still have to perform it fast. So this time lag or time period between the birth of an idea, of a concept, and then moving it into process, into action, is very fast. We have a joke that we've got two types of deadlines, till the evening meeting and till the morning meeting. So that's and that leads to very quick decision-making process and projects developing through quick iterations. So basically, you are able to come up with MVPs and then quickly identify if something is working or not. Something that can become an obstacle is in fact the fact that you are less prone to question orders. In business, you are still often expected to ask questions, to ask follow-up questions, to dig in, to question maybe some other projects or ideas. In the army, not so much. So you might have people who are good at execution, but not very good at questioning and developing new ideas. So that's like a double-edged sword. So this moving quickly, it can help. However, moving quickly can be a problem whenever you might need some extra thoughts. Because in the army, on the staff level, whenever you develop a plan, you have specifically identified people who play the enemy. And in the wargaming process, you have a team, usually your intelligence officer, who sort of questions your ideas, who plays the role of the enemy, and who says, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And these are specially trained people. So this function is, in the army, is outsourced to one specific person or a unit. However, in business, you might want this function to be spread out to your team.
Yeah, that's definitely that's very interesting, and for me it's definitely it's very important. Yeah, because of course as being in the leadership services business, we have been able to interview like number of veterans, number of people who return from the battlefield, but of course most of my knowledge is I would say it's quite theoretical, and of course we have read and reviewed quite a number of different researches, and of course like most of them are American ones, because Americans are the with the longest history taking care about like veterans, like starting from the First World War and developing the institutions and in fact what they say, there are of course you can talk about the soft skills and hard skills, and what they say about the soft skills, that there are a few things which I very much believe would be very, very, very useful in the civil environment and business environment, and the one of the things the researchers are talking about, that the level of integrity for the veterans are in average much higher than for the inexperienced people, and when we are talking about the development of the corporate governance structures in particular in Ukraine, we know that this is like very important fact, and besides that of course the researchers are talking about the decisiveness and determination and orientation on a result. And as well about the leadership skills we already like talked about, but when it comes to the technical competences, then it's becoming even more interesting, because this is a new type of war. This is a very technological war, and I very much believe that there are lots of people which are like very deep in the technologies, in the security, in the cyber security, logistics is everything, and logistics will be the competence, is the competence which is extremely important now in civil life.
Do leaders coming from the military become more assertive in business?
Yes, and besides that, returning to your point regarding the innovation, the researchers says that people on a battlefield are pushed to be to have the possibility to find the solutions which are like non-standard solutions, kind of like to look out of the box. And this is something which is in fact, which is very important, and probably this harsh battlefield experience and the ability to find the very non-standard solution is very important in a civil life, and being the member of the board, not just following standard path, and being able in a critical situation to come up with something new, something non-standard is quite an advantage.
What does the world know about reintegrating veterans into business?
There are two players in this game, and I would say that veterans is one, yeah, but there is a very, very important role of the society, and we can talk about the government, expect some kind of activities from the government, yeah, and this is fair, but the whole society have to accept the fact that there will be huge amount of people which in one or other way will be related with the war, and I saw some statistics that in Ukraine after the end of the war there will be at least 5 million people who have been in army, who have been in the battlefield, their relatives kind of who have suffered the same stress and pain, and this is a big part of the society, and when talking about the integration of the veterans, the society have to understand that life after the war will never be the same as before, and society itself have to change and have to accept, and we can talk about the particularities, for example, either the normal business HR person will be competent enough to interview and to assess the veteran candidate, so to assess his even starting from the technical skills, yeah, because the technologies, the processes in army are quite different, and they even for example when we are talking about cyber security and cyber security tasks which in army are significantly different than in a business. But of course, especially when it comes to the soft skills and to the personality, and either you can assess, because I can imagine the situation kind of when there is a young guy 24, 25 years who have been the leader of the tank platoon. In civil life, 25 years, it's kind of he's a junior, but there he have been responsible for the people lives and for the machines who costs the millions, and therefore I would put more stress particularly on the society responsibility.
Companies need to learn Well, first, HR people and recruiters need to learn more about the Army and about its roles and structures, just to be able to talk the same language and to identify which are the benefits or some gaps within a person's previous experience. Because in the Army, you can be in a technical role, you can do communications, you can do programming, you can do database management, you can do logistics, basically similar to a civilian job. You can be in a leadership position, leading people and being a commander, because an officer does not equal to a commander, right? And then you can be in a planning position. And these are all different functions. And so understanding the difference of those roles means that you are able to better estimate and make informed decisions about where this person might fit into your organization. In terms of the adaptation, definitely there needs to be quite a long period of adaptation, especially for those that went into combat and were in battle. This includes need, well, for instance, when people come back into civilian life after extensive combat experience, it's hard for them to concentrate for a long time. So when I was pulled back from my deployment, I remember I had problem concentrating on anything for longer than a couple minutes. Just because you get so used to being on edge and on alert all the time, and you don't really have many tasks that take longer or need concentration, so you need to be alert. And so it takes time to get back. So that means that if you have a business planner who went into combat, you might give him some easier tasks before putting him right back where he left when he went into the army, just because his mind needs to adapt. And then another thing is that indeed, in terms of integrity that you mentioned earlier, in the army you have a feeling that you're working for, you're serving for a larger purpose. And so when you go back into your business, you might not feel that same larger purpose. So it's important for companies to think about how do they communicate their big purpose.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
What is the biggest challenge for veterans returning to business life?
Well, one of the challenges that veterans might go through going back, like I said, is this adaptation and levels of concentration. Another is relearning to communicate in longer sentences and explaining the background and the purpose, and just going back to some longer conversations. I had an interesting experience recently when we organized a meeting and we had a number of guests, both civilian and military. And then there was an emergency and we had to push it further a couple hours. So I messaged all of the participants, and all the military guys said, Roger, agreed, accepted, and all the civilians said, what happened? So that means that indeed you need to, and it's a certain mind shift. Yeah, so, and I feel that whenever now I'm talking to our civilian partners, organizations, contractors, etc., that in an army I would say just do this, cancel that, adopt this. While talking to a civilian company, I need to say, okay, we need to cancel this because. So this because thing is definitely something that most of the military struggle with.
Yeah, No, of course. Now we will have a very interesting experience when the president has decided to replace all the heads of the recruitment offices with the real veterans, and I think I very much would like to follow this this idea and experience what we will have with this, so that how the but yeah. Like another thing, what researchers says is that of course very big issue for the people who return from a combat is the psychological type of issues, and they said that 38% of people who return they have some kind of problems like depression and like alcoholism and anxiety and PTS and this is another, but of course this this will be the task of the society, but of course of the government to take care about that. But definitely this is a problem which have to be discussed, which shouldn't be put somewhere because now of course we hear lots of stories about those recruited prisoners in Russia who return from the combat, and then they are doing again terrible things, and but those are just few cases which are very loud, yeah, but the entire problem of the psychological issues, it's much bigger, and society have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's the society, it's the government, and it's the businesses and the NGOs, and there are a number of programs that are already being developed on levels of the ministries. In terms of better business opportunities, grants, programs, rehabilitation, and definitely still needs a lot to be done.
Advices for companies hiring veterans.
Business and the society have to acknowledge that there are differences, and the veterans have to be assessed in a different way, and that veterans need different treatment, during the interviews, and HR definitely needs to learn that.
And if we're talking about leadership positions, I think specifically like C-level executives coming back into business, or owners, then definitely people will be coming back, like I said, with a feeling of a larger purpose. So most likely those businesses might change or reshape in a way. That's one thing. Another thing is that you might get ready if your C-level executive is coming back, that he or she might be harder to negotiate, which might be a problem. So that level of integrity is definitely going to be higher. However, the level of being less agreeable is also might be a stress for the company, and that's something that I think that boards should get ready for.
No, however, like we already have had CEO search projects when our client says that okay, he would like to see the veteran candidates, and in particular even that okay, veteran candidates will this experience would be a significant advantage, like in selecting, and the reason in fact is that in particular the responsibility and target orientation Probably there was some social responsibility aspect as well. But okay, but like this one client, particular client I'm talking about. This is a private equity, and private equity guys, they are not like very agreeable and emotional, and definitely they wouldn't make their decision just because of the feeling of the social responsibility. So definitely there is understanding in the business side.
Is special preparation needed for a veteran to join a team?
I would say kind of like there are like two aspects. The one aspect definitely is when it comes to the corporate governance. We are talking quite a lot now, and like what's important, when you look at like for example the international financial organizations which work now in Ukraine and which are helping us very much, the implementation of the corporate governance practices is like on very top of their priorities, like number 2 or number 3, and this is this is important, because like by this. By building the institutes, you ensure that the process is done in correct way, and then there is no like ways you can apply those like not very positive levers, Like from other perspective, like of course we are talking about the change of the mentality, and of course like we understand that being in a war, being in a battlefield, that is an environment which change mentality, and it was already mentioned that this integrity is one of the like advanced qualities which veterans possess, and of course there is kind of like this question, so that the integrity and directness and the ability to negotiate and to achieve something, and working on the supervisory boards, this is like permanent negotiations and attempts to find the best solution, and but this integrity question, it's like above the everything. So
I think that maybe it's not so much how the veterans can change attitude to corruption, but how the war has changed the attitude to corruption overall, because people throughout our society have seen the cost of corruption that it has on purchasing equipment, military equipment, etc., on the level of funding for the army that comes from the taxes that are based on whether you adopt transparent practices or not. So I would rephrase it to maybe not how the veterans can change it, but how the society overall has witnessed the negative effects of corruption and how it makes you weaker as a country and overall. So I think that that's something.
Yeah, that's important. That's important, and like for me, not being Ukrainian, what I see is that like until the war, probably even before like the revolution of dignity, the overall atmosphere in a society was that, okay, I'm small person. What can I do? Like what can I impact? But now you see that that people believe that they are significant, that they can do something, and I believe this is this significant change in the mentality, like you are talking about, so that the whole society has started to believe that okay, we are the ones who are controlling our fate, yeah, and that's probably is a significant part of the fighting with the corruption.
How can companies handle misunderstandings with veterans?
I think that integrating veterans into your company or back into your company if they went to serve and they're coming back, it starts before they come back. So that's why I think that building those connections and keeping those connections alive between your team and those who are serving right now is very important. So that you have some meetings whenever they come back for reconstitution or when they have vacations. That you have phone calls, online meetings, etc., so that there is always this link between the front line and the company or your team, etc., so that they are greeted with holidays, with company holidays, so that they are sent presents. So, and then if there is this connection, then bringing people in back is much easier because you don't have this lag. Mm-hmm. So like any relation, it mostly builds and it thrives on time and attention. So whenever there is this tradition of staying in touch or having somebody out there, then the reintegration process is going to be much easier. And new people with similar experience coming in would be taken in much easier because you know that you have other guys like him with whom you talk on a daily basis and you can relate to them. So I think that my main advice would be to make sure that you stay in touch with whoever is serving.
The one thing which seems is very important, and why this war is different, is that like there is lots of like videos, and even sometimes the feeling is that you are online in this war. So that, and this, like from one perspective, it is like maybe for somebody it could be so that like this is not a war, this is some kind of like computer game or something, yeah. But from other perspective, like when you see that kind of like there are army people who are like helping the civilians, or the army people who are like treating some like pets or something good. That's I think that's a very helpful to kind of like to sustain this like this human image, that kind of like these are not the people who went somewhere like in some like strange place and then they are coming back and they are very different, yeah. So that kind of like this connection is here. Like and we were discussing that Kyiv doesn't look like city in a war now, and definitely there is certain risk as well, yeah, because kind of like it can make the feeling that okay, there are normal people who live the normal life, and then there are some like people which will come back from somewhere and they are very strange and they are different, and how to. So it's quite a challenge, and this is quite a challenge for the country and for the society to deal with, and that won't be. I don't see like simple solutions here. Like definitely government and NGOs and have to work with this, so that kind of like social programs, not just for veterans, but as well for the for us, for the civilian people, so that kind of like to being able to accept that. But definitely, like, there is no like easy solution for the problem.
Do veterans bring more ambition to civilian life?
If we talk about some senior positions and specifically supervisory boards, I think that having senior leaders with military experience will enrich in a number of ways. First, you will have lots of veterans throughout the markets, throughout the companies, and it will be sort of a private club. Yeah, so veteran would be able to identify another veteran and to relate to him or her in a way like a graduate or an MBA school might. So having people like that, possibly, my hypothesis is, will make easier to build relations and connections with other companies, organizations, etc., so that you can go into a meeting with a different company, body, government institution, and possibly identify somebody who also had served there, and you already have this internal link. So that's one thing. And another thing, when I think about supervisory boards, I think of them, in fact, like on a staff on the level of battalion or brigade, when you have a commander, but you also have different people with some specific functions that can help make decisions better. So in fact, when you go to battalion, brigade, corps level, on those levels, it's not the commander who makes all the decisions. He sets the intent, and then he gives subtasks to his logistics officer, connections officer, intelligence personnel, etc., 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 for them to do their part of work and come up with possible course of actions. Then you have your sort of intelligence officer who plays the role of the bad guys and says how your plan might not work. And then in the end, only when you look through all those possible course of actions and do the wargaming, you make a final decision based on all those informed data inputs that you have from people with unique experience. So for me, a supervisory board is something exactly like that.
And that's interesting. That's interesting that you touched this question, yeah, because there is this concept that about the role of the supervisory board during the crisis time in a company, and this concept, he draws like quite direct parallels between the business and the army. And of course, the role of the supervisory board during the company crisis time, it changes, and many things become much more similar as it is in an army, yeah. And for example, and they as kind of like this concept as well. He said that okay, the supervisory board is something like similar to the headquarters, and the management is like the people on the ground. And of course, the role of the supervisory board is like for example, like during the crisis time, management has to be like very, very much focused to keep business alive, and it kind of like there is no way to kind of like to think about the development or and the only task is kind of like to keep the business like on afloat. but then the members of the supervisory board, they have kind of like to take some of the management duties, like, okay, let's think what will be after the crisis. Let's think what will be after the war. Because management can make a decision to kind of like to cut 70% of the staff, like just to kind of like to sustain the cash flow, yeah. But headquarters, the supervisory board have to ask, but how do you manage that after, like, we will handle the crisis? Like another thing, another additional duty of the supervisory board is psychological support of the management, so that and what they say is that, for example, I know that, like in American Army, there is this, they call it the buddy system.
Yeah.
That like there is some kind of like commander in a headquarters who is linked with some commander on the grounds, and he's kind of like personally supporting, and as well the other thing is. Because kind of like during the crisis times in a company, there are lots of how to say, like active stakeholders, like for example the creditors who want their money back, or like banks who are pushing the management, and the supervisory board have to like take over some kind of this stakeholder management, which usually is not their duty, but in normal times, but they have to do that. So that, and here I see that like this like very active involvement of the commanders in a headquarters in like real things, yeah, definitely is the experience which could be very much applicable to the. To the civilian life, to the business life.
Do companies with veteran leaders do better?
When I started the business, my business in Ukraine in 2015, and I saw how much the country, the society, the business environment has been changed since then. Like 8 years, it's not a long time, but the changes are really tremendous. And this active war, kind of like this invasion, it made kind of like the changes even faster. And what's important, like what's extremely important, is that Ukraine has become like very significant player, and like in Europe, like in scale of Europe. And that the feeling is, of course, that Europe has become like a little bit old and kind of like conservative and somewhere lazy and very like too much self-confident, but this energy and ambition what we see now in the Ukrainian society, it's some kind of like push for old Europe, and now if there were like lots of questions when I started, yeah, like from my partner's side, from the people of the Western Europe, yeah, so that like what the Ukraine is about, yeah, then everyone knows, and this is a like great opportunity for all of us, and like for the whole Ukrainian society, and I very much believe that. That the people who went through this absolutely terrible war and who acquired this like very special experience, they will play a very significant role in this future Ukraine in all the aspects, including the business yeah.
I think that all organizations from now on need to start thinking and planning with the understanding that this military component, that this army component is always going to be there, because it's unlikely that we're going to get rid of our northern neighbor anytime soon, which means that the society overall needs to restructure and be ready to resistance at any point. That means that part of your employees might be serving at certain points, part of your employees might be on the reserve duty. And so that's just something that you need to work with and plan along while you make your decisions about how you structure your office.